You mind if I get a Dr. Pepper, Granny?
Huh?
You mind if I get a Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, you can drink a Dr. Pepper. Have you got that other one you said it's in a box? Is it in the refrigerator?
It's in the freezer.
Freezer.
It's in the freezer. So what about your husband? How were you guys when you met?
Oh, he was in service, and he was stationed in Lawton.
In Lawton?
Yeah, that's close to Hollis.
Close to Hollis?
And he'd come home over the weekend. I mean, he would, when we were going together, he would come in on the weekend and stay with us.
Oh, yeah? Huh. How old were you?
Well, we wasn't very old. He was 37, I think, and I believe I was 36. He was
When you met?
Yeah, he was 1 year older than me.
Huh. So you met him when you were 36. What'd you do before then?
I lived on the farm with my folks.
Yeah? Huh.
With my mother. My daddy's already passed away.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
He passed away when I was 8 years old.
Your dad did? Huh. Mom wasn't too much older than that?
Maybe I was 26 or something.
26 when you met him?
Yeah, and he was old enough to be in service. He was I guess 27. He's a year older than me.
Didn't he serve in the war?
Yeah, that was
Which war was that?
World War II.
World War II?
He was stationed out in California, and I went out there and stayed with him.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever he got ready, had to leave to go overseas, I had to drive home. Hadn't been driving very long.
Really?
And I had a girlfriend there. Her husband was in service too. He had to go at the same time. And she lived in Duncan, Oklahoma, so she rode with me to Hollis, and then she caught the bus and went on to
The Duncan?
Duncan. We would drive through the daytime and stop real early at night. Taking us 3 days, I think.
Huh. Wow. Stay in hotels?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's interesting. How long was he overseas?
2 years.
2 years. Didn't get to come home any time in that 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's a long time to be over there.
Yeah, he was fought on the front line.
Was he in the Army?
Yeah.
What was his rank?
He was sergeant.
Sergeant. Did he get hurt, or did he just get to come home?
He just got to come home. At that time they had something that they call merits. You know, that he got to come home on his merits.
On his merits?
And he traveled home, had to pick his way through on the ship. They had to pick their way in, and he got home.
Pick their way in? What do you mean?
Well, they had to watch for Japs and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Had to watch not get killed, drowned or something.
On his way in?
On his way home. He got home, I think, before he got home, the war had It stopped.
It stopped. Huh.
The war ended in 45. Yeah, 45.
Where was he at? Was he in Pearl Harbor or was he in Europe?
No, he was in Japan.
He was in Japan? Huh.
He fought the Japs.
He fought the Japs?
Yeah.
Huh. That's wild. And you were in Oklahoma then?
Mm-hmm.
Have any kids at that time?
Yeah. And Willard was just a little boy.
Yeah.
And then James came along. Whenever I was pregnant with James, whenever I drove home.
Huh. Huh. That's interesting. That is interesting.
Mm.
How soon or how long did you live in Oklahoma after he came back?
Oh, we wouldn't have very long at all. He came on up here and got his job.
Right after that?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And then we moved up here.
Just almost immediately?
Mm-hmm.
Did he know about Borger before he came up?
Well,
before he
he
got back?
had-
Or?
Some of our friends down there, worked up here, so they told him to come up here
Hmm.
and get him a job. He went right to work with Phillips.
What was he doing out there?
I don't know what don't know what kind of job he had.
Huh.
I guess just had to start out in the gang just like everybody did, and then he moved on up to, let's see, what was he? Anyway, he was the boss over some of the guys.
Hmm. Supervisor?
Yeah. And
Did he work for Phillips or did he work for a contractor?
no, he worked for
He worked
Phillips.
for Phillips. Hmm. And that was in 45? Hmm. You moved out to Phillips, the town of Phillips, then, didn't you?
Yeah, but over there, pretty close to the plant, really.
Hmm. Was that loud?
No,
No?
well, you could hear it. And
Isn't that kinda
they
dangerous?
had a blowout one time, when he was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Blew him over the fence.
Really?
Yeah. And he come home crying, scared to death. Knocked his shirt, tore his shirt off of him, and
Hmm.
lost his helmet. And
And he survived. Hmm.
it was scary.
I bet it was. And they had people living out there then.
Yeah, people were living out there.
Hmm.
We was living pretty close.
Wow. When did you move out? Move to Borger?
Oh, we moved into Borger. We lived 2 or 3 places here in Borger. And finally, we bought this place.
What was the reason you decided to leave Phillips and come to Borger?
We're just hunting a bigger
Bigger
place,
house?
big place to live,
Bigger place to live?
big place, house.
Huh.
We found this one, bought it, lived
Yes.
in it for about 2 months, and he passed away.
But you didn't live here first when you moved to Borger, did you? You
No,
lived a
no,
couple
we
other places?
lived out at Phillips.
Oh, before here, but after Phillips. Didn't you live over behind Kmart or something like that?
We lived, no, it wasn't behind Kmart's. Well, I guess it's pretty close to where Kmart's were.
Pretty close over there? Hmm. Huh.
In a little shack.